Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jason Reynolds. I'm the superintendent of this wonderful district, very proud superintendent of Peoria Unified School District. And it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the 2021 Patriotic Speech Contest for our schools. This is a wonderful opportunity for our students to show us all the things that they've learned, show us their or share with us their thoughts around patriotism. It's going to be a wonderful experience, so we're excited to invite them here today. First of all, I want to just make sure to thank all of our teachers and support staff and principals for the hard work and the sacrifice that they have gone through this year. It has been an unusually difficult year for public schools around the country. And we have worked very, very hard to make sure that we were able to provide an in-person learning opportunity for our students. And so that required, again, a lot of extra work and time and energy. And we want to say thank you to our entire team. Not only do we talk about the in-person learning opportunities, but we have also committed to making sure that we can provide as many opportunities for events like this throughout the year. We've had to cancel some and postpone some, and they look a little different than they have in years past. But we're excited to be able to have this opportunity and, again, welcome our students from our various schools. So we're going to start quickly with our Pledge of Allegiance. So would Owen White from Copperwood Elementary School join me? Please stand as Owen leads us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Owen. All right, next I'm going to introduce everyone to our judges who have volunteered to be with us today. First of all, we have Stacy Hamilton. Miss Hamilton is currently an arts educator in our district, a curriculum and instruction coach in our arts department. Prior to becoming a coach, she spent many years as a teacher developing student passion and talent in the arts. She was a junior high band teacher for 13 years and a student council advisor for several years. So thank you, Miss Hamilton. We've got, we're clapping, yes! Buttering up the judges. I like it. Next, we have Mrs. Katie Lukacek. She is currently a curriculum instructional coach as well. Prior to being a coach, she was an elementary teacher and was a reading interventionist in our school district. Once you start, you can't miss any. So, next, we have Melissa Selby. Mrs. Selby is currently an ELA and curriculum instructional coach. Prior to coaching, she was a reading interventionist for 8 years and taught first and second grade. While teaching, she enjoyed working with students of all age levels. She coached basketball and softball and our high school swim team. She wants to congratulate all of you for being here today and wishes you the best as you present your speeches. And lastly, Miss Sally Daytree. Miss Daytree is currently an ELA curriculum and instructional coach in our school district. She taught junior high ELA in our district. She was, interestingly enough, she was named Charter School Teacher of the Year prior to coming to Peoria. She's taught literature, art, Arizona history, and she has 4 amazing children. She wrote amazing children who are all products of the Peoria Unified School District. And our timer, Miss Michelle Bentavenia, she is one of 2 K-12 curriculum and instructional social studies coaches. Prior to her current role, she spent 5 years working at Kellis High School as an economics teacher, 6 years at Centennial High School as a business teacher. She misses being with the students, but looks forward to this event every single year. She is our timer, and she also wishes you all the best of luck. So thank you all for volunteering to do this. It is a really special opportunity, and we appreciate you being here. So lastly, I want to say thank you to all of our school principals, our teachers, our contest coordinators, for all the work that they have done to get these students here. Without them, we wouldn't be able to host this. So it's time to turn it over to the stars of the show and to our lead judge, Miss Hamilton, as she will walk us through our speeches. Are you ready? That was not very exciting. That didn't show a lot of excitement. Are you ready? All right, here we go.
All right, representing Cheyenne Elementary School, Efren Platt.
Good afternoon, judges, viewers, and my fellow contestants. From the beginning of our nation, we have always shown selfish needs to each other. This is the issue I bring to you today. Close your eyes and imagine your best friend winning a $10,000 giveaway. Now, open your eyes. How did he feel? Did you feel the necessity to snap back? Now, visualize yourself winning this giveaway. You go and tell your friend, and they disparage you and make you feel like your success wasn't significant. We are all, to some extent, guilty of being selfish to one another. Why have we become so accustomed to do anything so needy that it only satisfies our own selfish desires? Why will we stop at nothing to get to the top? We become so arrogant about our own tendencies that we do not see the destruction we have caused while trying to get where we believe we belong. Abraham Lincoln once said, "America will never be destroyed from the outside if we falter and lose our freedoms. It will be because we destroyed ourselves." George Washington always thought there's something great in the future of our union. But thanks to our own selfishness, we live in something completely different from what Washington imagined. I know we've all pictured something better for us. To your friends, your sister, brother, parents, and yes, parents, even your own children. America, no doubt about it, has changed in a lot of ways we've least expected it. You may ask, what has all this got to do with patriotism? Well, caring for our fellow man and woman is exactly what this country should embody. One way we can do this is to show that we care for that person and make them feel happy about themselves, even on a bad day. For example, when we give someone an unexpected box of donuts, they'd feel surprised or excited. Or if someone is beating down upon themselves or look as if they're upset, go up to them and show that you love or care about them. This small act of kindness can mean more to them than you realize. One small act of kindness can make this nation far better than any of us realize. Our country will never be perfect, but that's why we should keep on working. Each person showing kindness and concern for one another can make this nation from good to great. Therefore, we should move forward not by being insensitive, rude, or think we are better than someone else, but by being a true patriot. We need to show love to our country by being generous, thoughtful, and kind. Thank you, and have a good day.
Hello, judges, fellow contestants, and community members. Immigrants have contributed to the unique fabric of the United States in many ways: science and technology, business and politics, and leisure activities, and above all, food. Immigrants make up a significant part of America's patchwork. My appetite might even say the best parts. Immigration has brought us brilliant people who have greatly advanced America's understanding of science and technology. Albert Einstein, disputably the most well-known scientist ever, the father of relativity, and the equation E=mc², immigrated from Belgium in 1933. According to History.com, physicist Nikola Tesla immigrated from Austria-Hungary. Tesla made dozens of breakthroughs in electric power, which is vital to our way of life today. Additionally, we have Dr. David Ho, a top AIDS researcher from Taiwan. While in America, Dr. Ho's work has saved many American lives. There are even a few immigrants who have brought us amazing technology. Russian-born Sergey Brin is the co-founder of one of the best search engines in the world. You know it, it's Google. And we've all spent countless hours of procrastination with Steve Chen and Jawed Karim's master creation of YouTube. We owe American immigrants a massive thank you. They have greatly advanced our understanding of science and technology. But make no mistake, American immigrants don't stop helping us at science and technology. They also play a vital role in American business and politics. Look on any American street and you are sure to see the work of a German immigrant named Levi Strauss, who changed American fashion forever. Does the name Rupert Murdoch ring a bell? According to biography.com, he is the owner of one of our largest sources of news with News Corp and an immigrant from Australia. And let's not forget the architecture legend Liu Ming Pei, who designed countless landmarks, including the JFK Airport and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Ohio. There are even a few immigrants who have changed politics in the United States. Madeleine Albright, an immigrant from the Czech Republic, was our first female Secretary of State and a veteran UN ambassador. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, an immigrant from Austria, was once the governor of California. These are only a few immigrants who have changed American business and politics in humongous ways. Immigrants are only found in business meetings, in public office, or in scientific labs. Some of our favorite American sports players and entertainers are immigrants. Dikembe Mutombo, an 18-season NBA veteran, is from the Republic of Congo, and one of our most respected MLB pitchers, Mariano Rivera, is from Panama. If you turn on the radio and Three Little Birds comes on, you will be listening to the work of Jamaican immigrant Bob Marley. If you turn on the television, you may watch Jeopardy! Hosted by the late Alex Trebek, who immigrated from Canada. If you switch the channel, you may find a Bruce Willis movie. Guess what? You're watching an immigrant from Germany. By now, you've probably realized that immigrants are vital patriots who have contributed to every corner of American society: science and technology, business and politics, and leisure activities, and above all, food. So next time, when your stomach growls and you think, wow, I really wish I could have some authentic Italian takeout from La Piazza al Forno, or some Vietnamese pho from Pho for Days, think of immigrants. Thank you.
representing Country Meadows Elementary School, Titus Tipton. You may begin.
October 7th, 2001. The United States of America will soon begin the invasion on al-Qaeda forces in Afghanistan. Nearly 1 month after 9/11, President George W. Bush demanded that Osama bin Laden be handed over by al-Qaeda. Bin Laden was already wanted by the FBI for his previous acts of terror around the world, but now, after the deaths of almost 3,000 American citizens, al-Qaeda would also be held accountable. Greetings, my fellow patriots. My name is Titus Tipton, and today I will be discussing a written quote made in 1963 by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., how it applies to international affairs, and how it is still relevant to this day. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King spent years of his life striving for equality as a leader in the civil rights movement. His focus was mainly on the southern United States, since the North had mostly desegregated by the 1940s. The Great Migration took place from 1916 to 1970, when a vast population of African Americans moved north in an attempt to escape widely accepted racism in the South that was evident in the segregation policies enforced in private and government establishments. Dr. King knew that if the ideology of racism was not stopped, it would spread. This is what Dr. King strived to eradicate through dozens of peaceful protests, like the Montgomery bus boycott, the Greensboro sit-ins, and the famous March to Washington, D.C. in 1963. His strength and determination paid off, and Dr. King was able to gain enough support to get the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Voting Rights Act of 1965 enacted. Racial injustice to African Americans in the southern United States was an attack on justice everywhere. Similarly, we can see injustice repeated throughout history across the world. In the years leading up to 9/11, the United States had mostly practiced isolationism regarding the Islamic states, wanting limited involvement with the tensions rising in the Middle East. The United States had previously shown many forms of isolationism similar to this. The nation was reluctant to join World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War. However, history has shown us that a good balance between isolationism and internationalism is necessary. Practicing isolationism can be beneficial to a country, but it cannot completely isolate itself from the world. Otherwise, it leaves itself weakened, because there is power in numbers. This creates the need for international committees, like the United Nations, NATO, and G6, thus participating in internationalism. Fast forward to modern day. The United States opted to practice isolationism in an attempt to avoid war in the Middle East. Regardless of our attempts, we were attacked on U.S. soil by Muslim extremists on September 11, 2001. A total of 2,977 people were murdered. Thousands more were injured. This unjust attack could not go unanswered. With the help of its allies, the United States spearheaded the global war on terrorism to eliminate the threat of Islamic extremism and liberate the people of Afghanistan from their injustice. The United Nations defines human rights as rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. The Taliban and al-Qaeda violated several human rights. They forced women into concentration camps to exterminate the Hazara minority. Healthcare, education, and food were withheld from a majority of citizens, mainly being women, who had equal rights before al-Qaeda's rule. All religions, besides Islam, were forbidden, and monuments that worshiped them were destroyed. The Taliban also enforced their laws with gruesome punishments. America has a responsibility to itself and a responsibility to protect those who have had their human rights grievously violated. The people of the United States, Afghanistan, and other nations need to be saved from the tyranny and injustice of Islamic extremism. Injustice of any kind cannot be tolerated. Al-Qaeda was ultimately defeated, but they have left a devastating impact, not only on Afghanistan, but the rest of the world. This is where the relevance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote can be seen. Dr. King fought so that the human rights of people of color were upheld in America, similar to how the United States has fought to uphold the human rights of others around the world. Although our country has a tendency to practice isolationism, rest assured, the United States stands ready to fight enemies, both foreign and domestic, to uphold human rights and justice around the world.
representing Desert Palms Elementary, Savannah Dignard. You may begin.
Perfect. Imagine this, a country with no foundation in a world where the future wasn't already paved for us. The United States Constitution has played a substantial role in our country's history in countless aspects. Good morning, guests, judges, and fellow contestants. My name is Savannah Dignard, and I will be speaking about one of the greatest documents ever written in our country's history. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the constant dispute over whether or not our country's Constitution is one that adapts to the times or means today what it did almost 230 years ago when it was written. Today, I will be discussing what the document means to me, the benefits it has on our nation, and the popular controversy with the subject at hand. To begin, Webster's dictionary tells us that a patriot is one who loves and supports his or her country. When I think of the patriot, I think of the Constitution. I think of all the risks and sacrifices it took the founding members of our country to get us started on this journey we're still on to this day. The willingness to give up their lives to see our country strive and do things that were unimaginable for others at the time. How amazing to be part of a nation like ours. Although some people think otherwise, the Constitution has benefited the nation immensely over the course of history. It protects the liberties of American citizens and impacts the way our government works. Personally, I don't think it should be changed completely or interpreted however we please. On the other hand, I do think moderation can be good in certain cases. In 1771, the very first amendment was made to the Constitution because some things just weren't clear enough. Anti-federalists felt that the Constitution gave the government way too much power and further argued that it lacked protections for individual rights. So what did they do? They amended the document to make a more desirable nation. Let me remind you all that the last amendment was ratified just 29 short years ago. This shows that we've been addressing changes in the Constitution since it was first written, so why stop now? I'm definitely not saying that anytime an issue comes up, we should amend or change it, but making things more clear could be a very good idea. In light of all that I've previously discussed, I think it's also very important to recognize that the Constitution is a very controversial topic and has had its fair share of leading up to further arguments. The Second Amendment is a huge example of this controversy. This amendment states that as Americans, we have the right to keep and bear arms in the case that another tyrant were to rule our nation. However, people have found ways to both use and abuse this right, causing a countless number of deaths due to gun violence. On September 12, 2020, myself and others had received the call that a very special friend and peer was shot, and unfortunately, hours later, was pronounced dead. Now, this is where the debate begins. Was it the gun's fault, the person behind the trigger? Maybe both. Regardless, this is a severe issue in today's era, and this is where things get complicated. I know some of you may be thinking, what does gun violence have to do with a patriotic speech? But this is just one of many issues we face after the founding fathers thought they had it all figured out. DeShane Stokes said, "Thoughts and prayers won't stop a speeding bullet." And that, my friends, is the sad truth. So what is the solution? Should the Constitution be ignored in cases like these and gun control be the way we solve these issues? This is the America we live in, where times are not as simple as they used to be. Our country was founded on the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, I discuss what the Constitution means to me, the benefits it has on our nation, and the controversy within. Without the Constitution, we would be a lawless country. It's been what's helped frame the amazing nation we are today. Though we are a nation that is not perfect, we are a nation that is strong, powerful, and independent. Thank you for your time.
Wilson, representing Desert Valley Elementary School. You may begin.
Martin Luther King once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all." Welcome judges, teachers, and fellow contestants. My name is Faith Wilson. King believed in equality for all, including the people outside of our borders. The United States of America has a responsibility to protect itself and the people outside of our borders because it creates the perfect balance of isolationism and internationalism in order to avoid the reoccurrence of historical tragedies. Looking at our history, unless we stop injustice, it will swell and stretch. In World War II, Hitler rose to power in Germany. He first invaded Poland. We did not step in. Then he invaded Denmark. We did not step in. Then Norway and Belgium, and once again, we did not step in. We only stepped in when the threat came to us. We entered the fight when Pearl Harbor was bombed. In the bombing, 2,403 Navy personnel and 68 civilians perished, along with 19 Navy ships and 8 battleships. Another example would be the approximate 18 million people who died during Hitler's reign of terror in Europe. If we would have had a more international approach, we could have potentially reduced the amount of people who died during this time. Internationalism is the principle of cooperation among nations for the purpose of a common good. On the contrary, isolationism is defined as isolating one's country from the affairs of other nations. In other words, we are minding our own business as a country. Now, to survive as a nation, we need a strong balance between the two. We can accomplish this balance by understanding when and when not to step in. If we are struggling as a country, we should focus on making sure we can stand on our own 2 feet and then make sure our allies are supported as well. As a country, we need a well-managed balance between isolationism and internationalism, because if we help our neighboring countries too much, which would send our economy crashing, who's to say people will help us or not? Now here's a question I asked you to consider. How can we accomplish this balance that is needed for us to survive? Well, that's easy. We think before we act. We take a step back, we know where we are, and we see how much we're able to give, and then consider it very carefully. In our history, there have been many occasions where we did not step in, and that caused many substantial consequences. Just think of it. We could have potentially reduced the amount of people who suffered during the Holocaust and maybe even prevented the 2,471 people who died in the explosion at Pearl Harbor. However, there have also been many failed attempts at internationalism, such as the Vietnam War and the Battle of Mogadishu. On November 1st, 1955, the Vietnam War began. The United States military were drafted out to help on March 8th, 1965. From there, an approximate 58,220 U.S. soldiers were killed. Another example would be the Battle of Mogadishu in October of 1993. American troops were sent to Somalia to provide humanitarian aid. Soon, the Somalian people turned on us and shot down 2 American military helicopters. This left American casualties at 18 dead and 73 injured. In more current times, we give billions of dollars of taxpayers' money to countries as foreign aid while we continue to let homelessness and hunger grow in our country at alarming rates. This is disgraceful. This is dishonorable. So I leave you with this. Which do you believe we should be? A country of isolationism or a country of internationalism? Or maybe even both? Thank you.
representing Frontier Elementary School, Sophia Shawn. You may begin.
I think about the day that women were first allowed to vote. It was August 18th, 1920, when America said, yes, we want women. It inspired women and girls to see that everyone should have a voice in America, including my abuela, or grandmother. My abuela opened and managed her own business in the 1990s, a senior adult care home that would not have been possible without her determination. Welcome judges and my fellow contestants. Thank you for coming. I wish I could say parents and special guests, but they will be attending online today. My name is Sophia Shawn. Today, America is facing a problem. Women are not equal in our government and in our society. Some have tried to change this, and we should honor them as well. But the U.S. can do something to help. America gives everyone opportunities. Women's rights have improved throughout our history, allowing me to eventually get a job as a millionaire CEO or a teacher. However, women are not protected under the Constitution. Yes, you heard me correct. 50.8% of America is not protected by our most sacred documents. In the 233 years of our Constitution protecting its citizens, it has never been explicitly stated that women are included. This has persisted for too long. Thankfully, America is a unique place, as we can unite to change. It may take a long time, but is it impossible? No. Is it difficult? Yes. But I believe that anything worth doing is difficult in some way. This is what Miss Jeanette Rankin believed, and what all citizens need to believe to allow women to be in the Constitution. Who was the first woman elected as a government official? That would be Miss Rankin. Before serving as a U.S. Congresswoman, she was a part of many feminist groups dedicated to giving women rights. Finally, in 1916, Miss Rankin became the first woman to hold a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. She pushed for voting rights for women, equality, and diplomacy in the face of violence. Miss Rankin isn't just revolutionary because she was a woman, but because of what she did for women. She paved the way for women after her to pursue their dreams, such as me being a CEO. Miss Rankin proved that women have a place in government and in society. But most importantly, she tried to change our nation for the better. My abuela understood this, and she was able to transform the lives of hundreds of elderly citizens. Miss Rankin is a role model to all women and residents of America. We can still change our norms. As citizens, together, we can be respectful, supportive, and understanding to women. Everyone is created equal, and we need to uphold this belief. But first, let's backtrack. What would have happened if no one respected or supported women's rights? I would not be able to get an education, a job, or participate in our government. I would not be standing here in front of you. My abuela would not have been making a difference by helping our senior citizens. America would have been very different if we did not encourage, cooperate, and show empathy to women. However, we can still change our society together for every American. Every problem has a solution, even one as difficult as this. America is a wonderful country. Just look at Miss Rankin. She was able to break barriers and participate in government even when some people didn't want her to. Women being protected under the highest law will show that we, as a people, are still united in being the land of the free. All citizens coming together to make a change will connect us to one another. Yes, America has problems, but it's what we do to solve them that matters most, and what brings us together. As the great Francis Wright once said, equality is the soul of liberty. There is, in fact, no liberty without it. Thank you.
Sydney Day, representing Lake Pleasant Elementary School. And you may begin.
Good afternoon, judges and my fellow contestants. My name is Sydney Day. Today, I will be answering a serious question. What does America mean to me? Well, for starters, America is my home, the country that I love. But why? What is it about America that makes it so special? Harry S. Truman once said, America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, and unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. Harry S. Truman was right. America was built on courage, to stand for what we believe in, on imagination, to create the country we want, and determination to do whatever it takes to get the job done. In my opinion, America is a symbol for freedom, opportunity, and courage. First, America means freedom. In fact, the First Amendment of the Constitution gives Americans unique rights/freedoms that are not shared by others around the world. It promises us freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly. This means we are able to say anything we want, to speak our minds, our opinions, to protest peacefully when we do not agree with what our government is doing, to practice our religious beliefs without discrimination, and to vote to elect government officials who will represent our wishes. Second, America means opportunity. In many countries, people are told what to believe in, how to worship, what job they can have, how many children they can have, and even who they can marry. In America, we have the option to believe what we want, say what we want, do what we want, marry who we want, and even run for President of the United States if we want. America is a land of opportunity and freedom, where hard work and determination lead to success. Third, America means courage. Our freedom is given to us by the brave men and women who serve our country. It is the sacrifice, commitment, and dedication of the military, veterans, and military families that makes America great and gives us the peace and freedom we enjoy. As Elmer Davis, World War II leader, claimed, this land will remain the land of the free only so long as it is the home of the brave. We are living in the greatest country in the world, with a brave military and a strong police force who are willing to risk their lives to protect us. That is patriotism. In conclusion, America means a lot of things to me. But the things that stand out the most to me is freedom, opportunity, and courage. Remember, America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, and unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. We get to decide how our future turns out, so make it the best. Now, it's your turn. What does America mean to you? Thank you.
Marshall Ranch Elementary School, Tyler Black. Begin.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941. A date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by the naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. We will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God. We all know this quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt, but do you know what he did after violated thousands of American citizens' rights? Also, if the rights are taken away, dictators can rise to power. Some people may believe that you can take some rights away from the Bill of Rights if it's for the greater good. I do not agree. The rights stated in the Bill of Rights must never be taken away or outweighed by the collective good. Some people may believe that the collective good outweighs people's individual rights. I do not agree. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9060, which removed people considered a threat to American security, mainly Japanese and some Germans and Italians. Did you know 120,000 Japanese were placed in internment camps? This is a terrible thing because most of them were American citizens. Their Fourth Amendment rights were being violated. The right to non-reasonable searches and seizures. 1,862 died because of the terrible conditions in the camps. The property and assets in the bank were frozen and taken. This means the president could imprison anyone because he believes them to be a threat. Now, you might be wondering how this is connected to my point. It's simple. They thought taking away the rights was for the greater good. It wasn't criminals they were taking away and placing in terrible conditions. It was mostly good citizens who did nothing wrong except being from Japanese descent. There were some spies, I'll give them that, but they should have needed evidence in order to arrest them. This is one of our country's most terrible acts. If we take away people's basic rights, we can get path to a dictator, like in Germany during the 1930s and 40s. If we take away people's basic rights from the Bill of Rights, like freedom of speech and the right to bear arms, we can have a dictator. An example of this is Germany. Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party slowly took over parliament, and Hitler became ruler of Germany. Hitler did this by having parliament and letting other political parties, and before Hitler even rose to power, Parliament had strict gun laws because of the Versailles Treaty of 1919. After Hitler rose to power, he banned Jews and anyone who opposed him from having guns. Hitler's rise to power shows that if we take away people's basic rights, we can have a horrible person like Hitler rise to power. I understand that some people do believe that you can sacrifice some rights from the Bill of Rights if it's for the greater good. No, it is not okay, because what is going to stop the government from going further? I know there are checks and balances, but they have failed before. When, you may ask? The Japanese internment camps. Nothing stopped President Roosevelt from sending American citizens to the internment camp, not the Supreme Court or Congress. This shows that the checks and balances can be avoided if the judges and legislators agree with getting rid of one or more of our rights. What stops them then? We need our rights in order to stop them. In conclusion, we must never allow our rights to be taken away. The rights stated in the Bill of Rights must never be taken away if our democracy is to survive. 120,000 Japanese American citizens were placed in internment camps and their rights were violated. And the president can do this to anyone if we let them. If we allow the government to take away some of our rights, we can have a dictator, like in Germany. And finally, if we allow the government to take away some of our rights, more of them can be taken away. I challenge all of you to challenge the government if they start to take away our rights. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for watching the 34th Annual Patriotic Speech Contest. We are currently taking a short break and will return in a little less than 10 minutes. Thank you for your patience.
right, guys. Good luck to the second half.
Oh, you ready to get back at it?
Yeah, I got it. You gotta get a group right here. They're here early, ready to go early.
All right, welcome back. Next up, representing Patriotic Elementary, Julian Arias. You may begin.
In the song The House I Live In, Frank Sinatra states, "The dream that's been growing for more than 200 years. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Julian Arias. Imagine yourself as an immigrant, filled with an overwhelming feeling of optimism and hope. You would come from a freedomless country where they had stripped you of every inch of your humanity. And now, you are making your way towards a land of fulfilled dreams along with a society of those working towards their definition of the American dream. For myself, America portrays a nation of freedom, hope, and newfound opportunities. I believe that Alexander Hamilton represents the freedom that America is recognized for. From being an abolitionist to joining the revolution and proceeding to becoming a founding father for a new coming nation. Without his love and devotion for our country, America would not have an ounce of the freedom that we have today. Within the Revolutionary War, Alexander Hamilton had fought within a multitudinous number of battles, such as the Battle of Yorktown, which had guaranteed our freedom from the British. The aftermath of the revolution had left America in shambles, but more united than ever before. Alexander had continued to help build the nation, became a founding father, and built the first financial system within the US, all while helping America embrace the freedom that we have nowadays. Freedom is not passed down through our bloodlines, but must be fought for and protected by our government and our people. Generations upon generations had followed within Hamilton's footsteps, fighting to protect our freedom. Alexander's dedication, faithfulness, and assiduous nature towards our country is truly what makes our nation free from the confines that had been enacted upon our citizens. In my mind, Abraham Lincoln exemplified a logogram of hope for the Union and abolitionists alike. Former President Lincoln had persisted within his aspiration of reuniting the country and abolishing slavery. The Civil War had taken a toll upon our country. America had no longer been united, but split into two. Despite the adversaries, Lincoln and the Union had persisted within their relentless fighting in order to accomplish their vision of saving the Union, reuniting the country, and abolishing slavery. When the Emancipation Proclamation had been spoken, it had given certain slaves freedom, and had also given slaves the freedom to fight for their right to finally be considered a full person. Over 200,000 former slaves had joined the Union to not only free themselves, but to release those in bondage altogether. This proclamation had instilled a sense of hope amid a rebellion. History will reveal to us that the Gettysburg Address had taken place 4 months after the Union had defeated the Confederacy at the Battle of Gettysburg. The Union and abolitionists had rejoiced in joy and relief without realizing the significance one war, one man, and one speech could have upon our nation. Abraham Lincoln had served his presidency to the fullest. Even within the midst of the ugly truth of slavery and the grieving families, Lincoln had ignited a sense of hope that is embedded within our country's very soul. From my perspective, America is founded upon dreams. A dream for an improved life, a fresh start, more opportunities, and a better future for your kids are just a fraction of the dreams that are found within the hearts of American citizens. If we had lacked the aspiration and desire to change, we would have never separated from the British, abolished slavery, started a movement for racial justice, and so many more significant occurrences. In the year of 2018 alone, there was a record of 44.8 million immigrants living within the US, which makes up about 14% of our population. As the daughter of 2 immigrants, the American dream is incredibly significant within my household. My parents had dared to dream and immigrated to America in 2006. With them, they brought their life experiences and their culture. My fellow Americans, take a look around you. Take in the variations of skin tone, difference in background, and all-around uniqueness found within each and every person in this room. America has not always been what it is today. Our nation is embedded with struggles, but with that, there has always been perseverance. I believe that our nation truly became great due to the blood and sacrifices of our men and women, such as Alexander Hamilton, Abraham Lincoln, and immigrants that had strived for the principles our country was founded upon. Each and every one of them had a dream that was made possible due to the freedom and hope instilled within our country. Thank you for your time.
Representing Paseo Verde Elementary School, Jeremy Borgstead. You may begin.
Freddie Mercury, Levi Strauss, Arianna Huffington, and Albert Einstein. These well-known figures have shared their knowledge, talents, and skills to benefit American society. But they all share something else in common. They made their contribution to the U.S. as immigrants. Hello, judges, parents, guests, and fellow contestants. My name is Jeremy Borgstead. The contributions of immigrants are patriotic because they help the U.S. economy, aid the U.S. military, and serve the U.S. Congress. Here's a question for you. Have you ever used the online chat website Zoom? Or have you searched on Google or watched videos on YouTube? Because of immigrants like Eric Wan, the creator of Zoom, Jawed Karim, co-founder of YouTube, and Sergey Brin, co-founder of Google, we can use these platforms for work, education, and entertainment. Especially now, through these challenging times, many of us have been relying on companies like Zoom, YouTube, and Google for communication and entertainment purposes. These companies are not the only major American companies founded by immigrants or children of immigrants. Immigrants and children of immigrants have established over 250 companies listed on the Fortune 500. Some of these companies we hear about every day, including AT&T, Colgate, Tesla, Panda Express, and so many more. Not only do these companies provide essentials for everyday life, but they give thousands of jobs to American citizens. According to fastcompany.com, now one of the largest companies to ever exist, Google employs over 85,000 people. These immigrant founders all exemplify patriotism by dedicating their lives to developing companies that contribute to our economy and way of life. They found a problem or need and they created a solution for the people in our country and around the world. Immigrants have not just contributed to the U.S. by developing companies, but by fighting and protecting the U.S. For hundreds of years, immigrants have fought in wars and defended our country, so America can continue to be the land of the free and home of the brave. Currently, there are 60,000 immigrants serving in the United States Armed Forces. Their love for America is so strong that they're willing to risk their lives. They're taking the risk that they might not return to their homes. Many immigrants have known those risks and have still chosen to fight. Immigrants have served in the ranks of the U.S. military in every major conflict since, including those being fought today, statesbipartisan.org. There are many examples of large conflicts where immigrants have served in the U.S. military. In the U.S. Civil War, 20% of the Union were immigrants. Also, a combined 800,000 immigrant soldiers served in the two world wars. Serving one's country is not just patriotic, but also loyal and courageous too. Immigrant soldiers demonstrate these attributes every time they put America before themselves. Lastly, immigrants can be found at a crucial place in America, in the U.S. Capitol building located in Washington, D.C. As lawmakers, they test their skills, share their knowledge, and devote their time every day to pass legislation. They do this so America can thrive and prosper, so laws being passed are fair for American citizens like you and me. According to pewresearch.org, there are 52 immigrants and children of immigrants serving in the House of Representatives and 16 serving in the Senate. Some of these patriotic politicians include Ilhan Omar, Pramila Jayapal, Ted Lieu, or Nomar Therese. Ilhan Omar is a member of the House of Representatives from Minnesota. When she was 5, she had to leave Somalia when the civil war in her country began. Pramila Jayapal is a congresswoman from Washington. When she was 16, she moved to America so she could attend Georgetown University. Nomar Therese's parents wanted a better future for her, so they moved to America. She now serves as a representative from California. No matter how or why they moved to America, they all decided to serve their country as legislators. Through the companies they have established, through the protection they give to the United States of America, and from the decisions they make in Congress, immigrants affect us in our everyday lives. They have shown patriotism for America in countless ways, big and small. Truly, America would not be the same without immigrants. Thank you.
Next up is Trishawn Henriquez representing Peoria Elementary. May begin.
Now then, let me ask you a question. What exactly does liberty mean to you? There are so many answers for such a simple question, but it's generally known as the freedom to do as you please. However, to me, it means something much, much different. Hello, judges, fellow participants, and of course, the people of America. My name is Trishawn Henriquez. I'm in the 8th grade, and today I represent Peoria Elementary School. This country trusts us with a great power known as liberty or freedom. However, countless people abuse this privilege to gain what they want. I'm American. I have my rights. I have, but in fact, what you don't have is common sense. I believe it's quite foolish if you can run amok doing as you please, especially if it affects countless people going about their daily lives. A strong example of something like this is yelling fire in a peaceful public theater. It not only causes alarm, but it also causes fear in the public eye. If I offended you, I'm not sorry at all. The freedom of speech allows me to use offensive language to convey a message. Anyways, how do we even allow things like this to occur? One answer: ignorance. Ignorance leads to separate opinions, not understanding where or what the other side of the scope is coming from. But ignorance also leads to misjudgment, which evolves into things like racism and discrimination. Not only this, but it also causes things It also causes problems in the environment in things like air pollution, oil spills, and last but not least, climate change. We take all this liberty for granted, when in fact, basic human rights is something thousands upon millions don't have access to. An example of these injustices is World War II, specifically the post-Pearl Harbor bombing. People who were of Asian heritage were sent to American prison camps. Imagine having you and your family suddenly being told to gather your most valuable belongings, being shoved into a small area with poor medical care and poor food. Not only this, but several Japanese died at the hands of guards for allegedly resisting orders. I can't even imagine this, and if I were able to, I would be horrified. This is what over 120,000 Japanese Americans had to go through up until the end of the World War. Although I despise what we did to the Japanese, I believe giving up a small bit of your freedom for the common good is what we need to foster our future. Let me explain. If you were given the chance to do anything for as long as you wanted to, any place, anywhere, what exactly would happen? Personally, I know that won't end up so well. Just look at how things turn out with all these laws and declarations that don't even live up to their name. So although how much you may hate with having a small bit of freedom stripped from you, if it's for the future of this country, I can deal with a little bit of it. So please use your rights wisely and not to overdo it. On the contrary, if you exercise your rights too much, it can not only have a negative impact on yourself, but many others. So, what exactly does liberty mean to me? To me, it means the freedom of responsibility. The responsibility to live, the responsibility to make a change, the responsibility to run this country. Something this good must have a catch, right? This catch is that we must give a small portion of our freedom to maintain a semblance of peace. This country relies on the people, so much so we even get to choose our own leaders. However, if we let devious people run this country, it's only going to get much, much worse. So take my advice and always think twice. Thank you for listening.
Representing Pioneer Elementary School, Sean Davenport.
Actress Emily Attack once said, "Everyone is comparing lives on social media, striving for the perfect body, perfect image, perfect outfit, perfect life. We're all striving for this perfection, and that's impossible because there's no such thing as perfection." Good morning, fellow contestants, judges, and viewers on YouTube. My name is Sean Davenport, 8th grade from Pioneer Elementary. And while I believe social media is good in some ways, it's not always the best. Things like election influencing, racism, and hate are some ways why social media isn't suitable for your everyday lives. It can also have lingering health problems. such as sore eyes and loss of sleep, which can be more severe with time. It may also make you do inadequately in school. One huge part of why social media is not suitable for America is how voters are influenced and how democracy crumbles. Foreign countries have made it harder and harder for voters to get the facts as disinformation spreads. In the 2016 election, Russia plagued Facebook with these posts, reaching over 126 million Facebook users, with fake Russian news uploaded to Twitter and YouTube as well, reaching hundreds of more millions of viewers. Now, as I've said before, social media crumbles democracy. This impact is both good and bad. It's good when you express your beliefs and try to get people on your side, but lying to get people on your side, that's not good. Another dreadful thing on social media is all the racism and hate attached to the main platforms. Reddit is the worst, with TikTok as a close second. Reddit has over 1,000 racist and hate-ran subreddits, as well as racist practicings on the app, such as ideas of slavery, fascism, and Nazist ideas. Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok do not have a hate speech report option, with Instagram being the only social media that does. On mostly TikTok, movements like LGBTQ and BLM are hotspots of hatred, such as certain occupations like police with the sayings such as ACAB. I've also seen death threats on the app, which can lead from permanent ban on the app to suspension from school to even jail time. TikTok's terms of service do not allow this speech, although they do not do anything about it. This speech, although it does go against the freedom of speech expressed in the First Amendment, should have worse consequences than just a permanent ban or jail time. Well, jail time being the worst, but it should have worse consequences, especially when it threatens the life or freedom of another human being. Mental health also takes a huge part in social media. Multiple studies show that social media has increased showing depression, suicidal thoughts, suicidal attempts, anxiety, loneliness, self-negativity, self-harm, and physical ailments. A lot of people have compared social media to a Pandora's box with all of the risks attached. The risks start when people make comparisons to one another by people who may get more likes or followers than them. Instagram also has limited likes, which can make some people feel bad about themselves. And limited likes means that no matter how far you scroll, your post will not get enough likes as you have followers. Bullying is also tied to the mental health in social media. This hatred made 15% of all users across every social media commit suicide. This may seem like a small or dwindling number, but 1% is way too many people. All in all, social media, although you may think it is, it's not a great thing to use. False information about votes, mental health, hatred, racism, it all plays a role in why social media may not be suitable for your everyday lives. Although I use a few social medias, I don't use it all day, every day, and I'm aware of these risks, and I watch them cautiously, as I would like all of you to do the same. Thank you.
Maya Angelou said, "But today the rock cries out to us, clearly, forcefully, come. You may stand upon my back and face their distant destiny, but seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down here." Maya Angelou helps us think of how we can all let this reflect and guide our life. We have individual responsibilities to contribute to the fabric of American society. And this positive change starts with me, you, us. As Americans, we must acknowledge our history, both good and bad. We must answer the calling of patriotism by understanding our role as an individual that will one day overflow into our communities, states, and countries. Hello judges, fellow contestants. My name is Giovanni James. As Americans, we must acknowledge our victories as well as our low points and defeats. We acknowledge these things because it gives us space to highlight and or grow from our mistakes. There are the events we wish we could sweep under the rug or hide behind our wall of discomforts, like our lack of equality. To think that the women, such as the amazing ones here, didn't have a right to vote until the 19th Amendment was passed in 1920. Or finding yourself being less than considered human because of the color of your skin, instead of being praised because of the contents of your character. Although we come with some less than desirable memories, Americans' history has had some great events that have made our country unified. One example is the American Civil Rights Movement. This movement came about centuries after racial segregation and discrimination. We all have responsibilities for our country. We, the people of America, must wake up and own up to our duties. We must unite and move in one accord. There's a Swahili proverb that says, "Unity is strength, division is weakness." This proverb should speak to the very essence of our intentions. To become one by not following victim lines of division. We should not spread hate, judge, or refuse to acknowledge one another because of our differences, but instead to embrace them. After the many layers of our viewpoints and beliefs, we stand humbly and vulnerable as humans who are blessed to occupy the great land that we call America, land of the free and home of the brave. As Generation Z, we have the opportunity to lay a foundation that allows generations to come to understand the pride and honor it is to be an American. We can begin making a difference today, whether that be befriending a fellow classmate who sits alone during lunch, or stop fighting over cultural differences in politics. We honor and follow in the footsteps of all who has paved the way to see unity and a positive influence. I'm going to leave you with this. Are you going to stand on that rock that Maya Angelou spoke about, or hide in its shadows? As the brave and beautiful Maya Angelou stated on January 20th, 1993, during the inauguration for then President Bill Clinton, let us say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning. Thank you.
Representing Sun Valley Elementary School, Riley Glidewell. You may begin.
Theodore Roosevelt once said, "This country will not be a good place for any of us to live in unless we make it a good place for all of us to live in." This quote shows not only do we have to make this a good place for our own benefit, but for everyone else's too. Good afternoon, judges and fellow contestants. My name is Riley Glidewell. Today I will be informing you on what our greatest responsibilities are to our fellow citizens. The main points I'm going to discuss with you today include respect, protecting our rights and freedoms, and serving and or supporting the military. All of the things I'm going to discuss with you today show patriotism towards our country. The first thing we can do to make this a good country for everyone is being friendly and willing to help everyone. We should also show leadership and help in or during events. These things are important because everyone is different, and if no one is willing to accept that, nobody will want to be around anyone. Building relationships is a part of human nature, and it is also a crucial part of what makes America so strong. The next thing we can do to make this a good country for everyone is by protecting all citizens' rights and freedoms. Keeping our freedoms, laws, and amendments in place is vital, not only for our own well-being, but to ensure everyone stays safe. Most of America's laws were well thought out and put as a law for good reasoning. The First Amendment is protecting our rights of free speech, religion, press, assembly, and the right to petition against the government. Now, if this law got taken away, you could be thrown in jail for just discussing a religion that was not practiced. As Peter Marshall said, may we think of freedom not as the opportunity to do what is right, but as the May we think of freedom not as the right to do as we please, but as the opportunity to do what is right. Therefore, this is an important part of what makes this a good country for everyone. The last thing we can do to make this a good country for everyone is by showing love and support for the military. Showing love and support for our military shows you don't just like living here, you love the people and our country. For example, would you let someone who didn't like your family into your house? Well, America is our house and the people here are our family. And the military is trying their hardest to keep us all safe. That's why it's so important for the to show support for the military. In conclusion, America is a great place for everyone, and it is part of our responsibility to make it a good place for our fellow citizens. One of the main points I discussed with you today was we must make sure to show respect and leadership to our fellow citizens. Another main point I included is protecting our rights and freedom under any circumstances. The last point I discussed with you was supporting and or serving in the military. We are blessed with the opportunity to stand for something, for liberty and freedom and fairness. And these things are worth fighting for, worth devoting our lives to, said Ronald D. Reagan. Every one of these things makes America not only a safe place for everyone, but a great place to live. Thank you.
Representing SUNY Hills Elementary School, Savannah Johnson. You may begin.
July 13th, 1848. A group of women started questioning why women didn't have the same equal rights as men. This questioning soon led to what we now know today as the women's rights movement. This movement is one of the most inspiring acts of all American history. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Savannah Johnson, and today I'm going to be speaking about how important and significant the women's rights movement was to U.S. history. The U.S. wouldn't be anywhere where it is today without the inspiring women who helped shape the movement. Without the major events and outcomes because of the movement, women wouldn't be able to live the lives they do today. Women gaining basic human rights wasn't easy at all. It was extremely challenging, and it took decades of work for women to be thought of as equal to men and to break society's standards for women. The first Women's Rights Convention was held on July 19th to 20th, 1848. This convention is known as the Seneca Falls Convention. Since then, women held conventions by attending meetings, signing petitions, going to drives, and public speaking. These conventions allowed women to effect change. Major events occurred in the U.S. because of the movement. One of the most famous events was the 19th Amendment being passed. The amendment was passed on August 18, 1920. Because of the amendment, women were able to deserve all the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. The amendment states this: "The rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation." On this day the amendment was passed, women were ecstatic. 7 generations of women worked endlessly for this day to come and for women to be granted the right to vote. Susan B. Anthony once said, "There shall never be another season of silence until women have the same rights as men on this green earth." Susan B. Anthony was just one of the brave women who helped fight for equal rights in the U.S. In 1851, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Stanton met and became great friends. Anthony and Stanton formed the National Women's Suffrage Association. Since then, the two traveled the country and gave many speeches on women's rights. These women inspired many others to help fight for equal rights in the U.S. The 19th Amendment is also known as the Susan B. Anthony Amendment because of how inspiring Anthony was to women of all ages. Even though Anthony and Stanton helped create some of the movement in 1851, they continue to inspire women today in modern times. They inspire women to speak up and achieve what was once thought impossible for women to be able to do. Of course, one may argue that women shouldn't have been given equal rights because of the physical and emotional differences to a man. They might object that women can't handle the hard labor and the stress that could come along with being treated as an equal citizen. They could disagree that women can't do their job properly because they aren't considered strong enough to do it. What they fail to see is how inspiring the movement was, not just for women in our country, but for women all around the world. Women finally defeated the standards that were essentially created and enforced by the majority. None of these incredible actions would have been possible without the brave women who spoke up, even when it was considered socially unacceptable. Some of these brave women include Lucy Stone, Susan B. Anthony, Alice Paul, Elizabeth Stanton, along with many other incredible women. Without these women and their achievements, America and the rest of the world could never be anywhere where it is today. All things considered, the women's rights movement shaped today's society. It helped lay the foundation for our world today. The movement inspired women to speak up against the unreasonable treatment women received for centuries. None of the accomplishments would have been possible without the incredible women who sought justice. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for day 2 of our 34th annual Patriotic Speech Contest. All of the 7th and 8th grade students have completed presenting their speeches, and the judges have gone into chambers to debate the results. We expect that process to take at least 30 minutes, so we will come back no earlier than 2:15 this afternoon. So approximately 30 minutes we will return with the results. Thank you very much for your patience. Good afternoon, and thank you for watching the 34th Annual Patriotic Speech Contest. The judges are still deliberating the results of the contest. We do hope that they will be back in a few moments. We will give you time once they come back for you to settle in and watch the awards ceremony. Thank you for your patience.
As you can tell, since it took us a little while, this was an outstanding afternoon of patriotic speeches. We are so proud of you. Your sites are incredibly proud of you. You represented Peoria Unified so well today, and we did come to some decisions. But first, we want to honor every single one of you for your contribution today. So we'd like to individually recognize you, starting with Efren Plath. We have a memento for you. Owen White. Titus Tipton. Savannah Dignard. Faith Wilson. Sophia Shawn. Sydney Day. Tyler Black. Juliana Arias. Jeremy Borgstadt. Trayshawn Henriquez. Sean Davenport. Giovanni James. Riley Glidewell. And Savannah Johnson. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Marla Hobbs, Executive Director of Curriculum and Professional Development, to announce our winners.
Thank you, Mrs. Hamilton. I was in my office watching the stream, and I want to tell you how incredibly proud I was to be represented by all of you guys today. You did an amazing job. Your passion showed through, and your patriotism as well. So you can tell that you spent a lot of time preparing, and it paid off today because it was a very difficult decision, as you could tell by the 45 minutes that it took for them to do it. But they went back and forth, and they looked at the content of your speeches and looked at the way that you presented yourself. So you're all winners in my book because you did an amazing job. So I wanted to thank you for preparing for today. So at this time, we're going to announce the top 5 winners. 4th and 5th place will get a plaque, and the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place winners will get a trophy. So in 5th place, Savannah Johnson. In 4th place, Jeremy Borgstad. In 3rd place, Owen White. In 2nd place, Titus Tipton. And in 1st place, Giovanni James. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you again for your participation.